Okay, so this is the next book in the book review series. We've got Fundamentals of Painting by same author as last time, Vladimir Mogilevsev. Fundamentals of Art Trilogy. And this book is basically just a tutorial on the painting process. He teaches you what kind of materials you should use, how you should approach starting a painting of a portrait, and he's also got a really nice Rembrandt mastercopy in this thing, and he details every stage of the painting process of that. So very valuable resource, this one. So if you like those paintings from the Russian academies, then this is going to be the book for you. Right. Really awesome photo of the academy right here. That's just beautiful. The whole book is just a work of art. You know, like I just even the front cover. It's a hardcover. It's just beautiful. So there's just a little introduction of the book, telling what it's about, how to use it, and how to use it for like your own art studies, essentially. Table of contents. And so the first thing that he does really is he just kind of teaches you, this is a little bit about the introduction of materials that you're going to be using. You know, obviously your oil paints, your paintbrushes, all the oils and mineral spirits that you're going to be using, palette, all of that thing. I mean, if you've painted an oil painting before, you kind of know the gist. But if you haven't painted in oils before, then that's going to be a very useful page for you. And again, it's the same as the last book, actually, where in the Fundamentals of Drawing, where he was doing a lot of thumbnail sketches, a lot of preparatory work. It's exactly the same thing when it comes to painting, you know. So when you're doing a painting, you're still going to be doing sketches. You're just going to be doing it with color. And I call them color compositions or color sketches because that's kind of what they are. Color is color can be a very personal thing for a lot of artists. There is color theory and there is a science to color, obviously, but color is actually rather forgiving. You can be as vibrant as you want with it, or you can dull it down and have it more muted. And so when you're embarking on a painting, you really want to do a lot of color sketches and really play around with it. That's your opportunity to play around with the color to create the mood that you want. You can actually get away with a surprising amount just using color, you know. Your values have to be important, okay? You really want to be focusing on your lights and darks and organizing those. But when it comes to color, you can be a little more playful with them. So that's why it's a good idea to do these sort of color sketches. This is one by Repin. And this is the final painting here. It's a little bit small on the camera, but it's just much more refined. But this is basically the color sketch that he did. A lot of awesome brushwork in there. Very sketchy, very impressionistic. And so in this example, he's actually drawing with the oil paint. And I remember using this technique. I did a workshop course at the Angel Academy of Art in Florence years ago. And we were taught to do the same thing here. Just kind of get like a dry brush. And then you'd basically use burnt umber. Thin it down a little bit with a terps or whatever. And you're just kind of scrubbing the drawing onto the canvas. And it's a great way to draw, actually, because you get some very cool, interesting textures. You get a very interesting result. And I think using a paintbrush also prevents you from getting too close to the canvas, you know, because the paintbrush is a lot longer than the pencil. You're usually standing away at about an arm's length. And so you're always kind of looking at the bigger picture. Whereas if you're using pencil, sometimes we get into the habit of getting really close to the drawing and we're doing these tight little scribbles. Whereas with a paintbrush, you're really just focusing on the big shapes. And using a paintbrush prevents you from going into detail because you can't really draw detail with a paintbrush. So, I mean, you could draw the illusion of it, but you're always really focusing on the big shapes. So using a paintbrush to scribble in, not a bad tool, especially when you're doing a portrait. Can make pretty quick work of it. So we'll just kind of skip ahead a few pages. Like I said, I'm not going to show you the full book because you should really buy it, add it to your collection because it's brilliant. So this is basically the final step, So there's the finish. There's the final step. We've got a beautiful painting by Repin over here. I love that portrait. That is just the brushwork in that is fantastic. I don't know if this painting was... Let me just have a look at some of the earlier stages. See, it's kind of like Fundamentals of Drawing where you're still thinking about those edges and the planes and the construction of the form. Yeah, see, there you go. Bit of a schematic of the mouth around there. I don't know if this painting was painted in alla prima and he just did it in one session. Kind of looks like it to me. I don't think it was painted in layers. But it might have been. I don't know. Looks a little more alla prima to me. So I'm just going to skip ahead a few pages again. Again, all these constructive diagrams. So this is why I love these books, because he's constructing the forms for you. He's like giving you a visualization. He's teaching you how to visualize it. And some of these paintings might not be to everybody's taste, like they are very, there's a lot of brushwork involved in them. The colors are very muted in this one, but that's why I like it. And it's got a very sketchy appearance to it. It's not like a very refined oil painting, but I really like this. I really enjoy these kind of paintings, to be honest. Like I used to love the very tight, refined brushwork. But now I find myself gravitating towards these more impressionistic brushstrokes, I guess you could call them, because they're just more interesting to look at. And I love this close-up of the hand here. And, he's thinking about the hand in a three-dimensional way. He's still thinking about the anatomy. You can see the shadow shapes and how it's constructed, like the bones here. You can actually see this little tone here running along the knuckle. And it kind of leads into the, what's the name of it? Not the phalanges, the metacarpals on the back of the hand. And he's described that with some very basic brushstrokes. But he's described it very well. And that's very hard to do. That is... Like, it's actually easier to spend dozens of hours refining that with a tight brush and getting it to a refined finish. But that's not what he's done here. What he's done is he's basically just mixed the right color, used the right size brush, and placed it exactly in the position where it needs to go. And that's hard, because you don't get many chances to do that correctly. So painting in this very impressionistic way is it's very difficult. It's very difficult to learn, but it also gets the job done quicker. And I think that's kind of the mark of a true master, because I think a master painter, he gets the job done efficiently, and he does a very good job of it too. He has a way of describing forms in a very simplistic but elegant way. But again, the way he paints comes from the way he draws. He's always thinking of these constructive planes here. I'll just try and maybe zoom in a little bit so you can see that a little more. He's placing all those landmarks, marking those transitions of planes with these waypoints. Beautiful sketch, and you can see how that translates into the painting. I love how he's painted these hands. These are just brilliant. And the colors too, like from a distance it all kind of looks like a similar color, but when you look into it. I don't think the camera is going to pick this up, but you can see some cooler tones. Like you could see some grays in there. You can see some like almost greenish browns and some reds, and like there's all kinds of different colors actually in that. They're just very muted. He's just muted the color so they start coming together to form a cohesive form, you know? So he's really dulled down the vibrancy, but when you put them next to each other, you get a very nice effect. I think this is just talking about how he paints the clothes, like all the drapery folds, looking for those key shadows. It's a very nice sketch of that. Drapery is hard, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that much. Drapery is bloody difficult. Brilliant painter. But I just love how he takes you step by step through it. Like, you know, he's got like a lot of stages for this one portrait alone. You know, he's got like the charcoal sketch. So he sketched this one with charcoal this time. So he's teaching you kind of different methods with each painting too, which is why I like this book. He's not just giving you one method. He's actually giving you quite a few. He's got another one of like the full figure. These are some examples of like some master copies here. Love the texture in this. Like, look at the brushstrokes in this one. Oh, hang on. Let me just get that on camera. I might have to tilt the book because I can't quite fit it on screen. But the brushstrokes and the colors are just amazing in that. I love that yellow in the corner too with those drapery folds. That's a beautiful image. And that's the kind of painting you have to actually step away from a distance to appreciate it. And then as you go close up, you can see all the texture and just kind of how rough it is. That's an amazing painting. I mean, I can only ever hope to paint like that. Just makes me wonder how they did it. So this is another charcoal sketch. Now this one, you can see in these smaller thumbnails, he's kind of sketched the charcoal on the canvas, and then on this last step, I don't know if you can see that very well, but the line work is a lot cleaner, and he's actually used ink. He's gone over all his lines with ink, and he's describing the forms with ink, and the reason he does that is because the ink does not mix with the oil when you start painting the imprimatura over it. So the ink kind of stains into the canvas, and then it's secured the drawing onto the canvas. And then you don't have to worry about losing the drawing as you start painting layers on top of it. So, very clever technique. But I'll skip ahead. I mean, we'll get a quick glimpse at the how that painting has come along. But we'll actually skip ahead to this chapter. So this is the Rembrandt master copy that he did. And he's just telling you about the choice of materials that you need. Very useful. Again, charcoal drawing on the canvas. And the drawing is actually, like, he's actually put a lot of effort into that drawing. He's not done a lazy job of it. Like, just looking at the hands alone, you can see how he's describing the veins. He's describing the anatomical forms. You know, he's not doing a lazy job of that. He's really putting in some effort. And you can also see how there's more contrast in the tones of the face. So he's even toning it. You know, he's already shading it, and he's not even started the painting. And there's more contrast here and in the hands, and everything else is kind of left bare. And he's doing that because he wants to draw the viewer's attention to the face and the hands, which, again, you do with tone, usually. So, well, more accurately, you do with contrast. So he's kind of already establishing what's important in the actual drawing, even this early on in the drawing process, or the painting process. So it's a very useful book just to see how these things are painted. Let's just have a look. Let's just skip to the final step. This is where he starts doing the impastos and those big brush layers here. So it's like this is kind of again, have a look at this page here, right? So he's done very thick brush strokes with like those sort of impasto brush techniques. Don't know if that's coming on the camera very well, but there's a very thick brush stroke just above that eyebrow for that highlight. And he's put some thick brush strokes in the nose and then the mustache. And he's done a great job. Like, Rembrandt is a very difficult guy to copy from. Like, the way he painted is just, you know, you see a lot of artists doing master copies from Rembrandt and they never quite get it right. Like, they just don't quite do it right. There's just no other way to say it. Like, they're still nice, but I think Rembrandt, he's very tricky to copy from because I think some of his process is a bit mysterious. But Vladimir Mogilevsev, I mean, I think he's done a great job at bringing that Rembrandt effect, you know. And I don't think he's trying to copy it exactly, you know. Like, I don't think he's trying to copy the exact brushstrokes. He's just more interested in figuring out the process. And then, so this is like the before, or this is like the step from before where he's putting in all the impastos and the thick brushstrokes. And then this is the after where he goes over it with the glazes just to kind of maybe unify the lights and the halftones a little more. Just to kind of soften the image, just to give it that kind of healthy glow, I guess. Because that's another thing that Rembrandt paintings did too. Like, the shapes that were in the light, they kind of have this awesome glow about them. And then obviously, this is the final image. And you can see what I'm talking about, how it looks like the head kind of glows as the light's sort of bouncing off it. And he's just captured that effect so beautifully. So, it's worth buying this book just for this chapter. Because he's done an excellent job of that. And he documents every single step. Like, there's a lot of steps to it. There's how many pages are in this chapter alone? Like, I don't know. But he, you know, like, there's impribaturas, there's... Oh, man. Anyway. So, that's a little insight on the fundamentals of painting. Well worth picking up. If you want to get good at oil painting, and you want to, even just for that Rembrandt master copy, just to get a bit more insight into how to paint like that, it's well worth it. It's well worth it. And it's a beautiful book. It's going to look good in your collection. It's an incredibly useful resource. And it's something that you can use time and time again. Like, you're not going to, obviously, retain all of that information. But, you know, the next time you start on an oil painting, you can actually pick this book up and just refer to it. And just go to the chapter you want to refer to, depending on how you want to paint, you know. He gives you, he just equips you with so many tools that you can use. I don't really know what else to say, to be honest. I just think he's done a great job creating this series. So, Fundamentals of Painting, I would highly recommend that. These books are just brilliant for people who may never get the chance to go to an art academy. They're just brilliant for people who just want to know a little more, or just gain an insight into what the actual process is like in creating a traditional artwork. So I think these books are just so valuable, which is why you should definitely pick these ones up. So the next book review is going to be the final one of this trilogy, the Fundamentals of Composition. I will make this one the next video. You're going to want to watch this, because this is this one just absolutely blew my mind. The way he approaches composition, and he looks at all the old masters, and he just takes a real analytical view inside how they actually composed their artworks and how everything just started from a simple sketch. This is incredible. So you're going to want to stick around for that video. That's coming next. Fundamentals of Composition. Make a mental note of that, because you're going to want to check that one out. But yeah, there we go. That one was Fundamentals of Painting. We've done Fundamentals of Drawing. We're going to do Fundamentals of Composition. And that'll be it for the Fundamentals of Art Trilogy. And then after that, we'll have a look at a few other books that I think would be very useful to you. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to be doing a few more of these book reviews just because, to be honest, they're quite easy to do. I just I just record it. I do want to do more drawing demos as well, but I've just been hard at work on this commission lately, and I've not had the time. So, and I would like to record myself working on the composition, but sometimes I work better when the camera's not on me, which is why I'm not making that much content at the moment. But these book reviews are very good, very easy for me to make, very quick. So I'll get these ones out so that, and then you can check them out. These are really helpful. I think you're going to love these. So anyway, like, comment, subscribe, do all that crap, I guess. Or don't. It's up to you. I'm still going to put content out anyway. I'll see you in the next one.